So one of the things that you battle, like whether if you start your own company or a podcast or a website or whatever, one of the things that you end up battling is obscurity, and that is no one knows who you are, and it's very difficult because in the sea of YouTube or just podcasts in general, right? There's so much nonsense going out. Just earlier today, I got a text message asking, "Did I want to sell my house?" I'm like, "Will you stop? You're annoying the hell out of me with this bull crap." So there's always this constant bombardment of people that are trying to sell you something, inform you about something, blah 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 blah. And what that does is it makes it really difficult for people who are bringing value to, let's say, in this case, the discussion point. It makes it very
Understood.
difficult for people that are bringing value in this space, because you're trying to cut through the fluff and cut through the noise and get alerted to it. So it's possible, what happens is a lot of people just all they really want to do is, okay, I just want this little teeny sliver of information, and I don't want to bother with all the noise. And so they have to do a search like what you did to come across the platform. And that's about the gist of it. The only real, and so what I've come to discover then, to kind of bring this to a full circle, is if I want to actually, let's say, in this case, grow the podcast. If you're a contractor, you want to do the same thing. But if you want to grow a podcast or content or whatever, right, website, all you have to play the very long game and just continually put out what I'll say is content, like rich content, not like disingenuous BS. I mean, like substantive, nuanced discussion points that take maybe a deeper dive. It's not just clickbait. It's not BS, because YouTube is chock full of it.
Mhm.
Podcasts are too, for that matter. There's a whole lot of people that get into it because they have this get rich quick thing that they think they're just going to jump in and I'm going to talk, and then the next thing you know, I'll make millions of dollars. Bull crap. So that's the enemy. The enemy is that no one knows who you are, and that's
Yeah, it's the
probably the what's going on there with that
it's
regard.
the time it's the time that we live in right now.
Mhm.
It's lots of scams, and my intention was never to go on there and reach out to anybody. It just happened. I was on there trying to get background information and try and put together another couple of things that would maybe tie the information that I have together and pick and choose pieces. And I just saw your podcast because, like I said, I saw it was like, I forgot, an hour, more than 3 minutes long, and it was new. And I listened to it, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's got some great points. And he said, well, somebody reach out. And I'm like, okay. But that was never my intention at all. I was doing this for my purposes, for my decision, and how long I'm going to stay and all that. And this just happened because of the way you presented your information. And it was very real, and it kind of tied a lot of things that I have to say together.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you took the invitation and the time to come on here, because I have first off, I have a view based upon, and in each one of the podcast episodes previously, I basically took two different websites with two different bits of information, just to kind of expound upon it a little bit. But the other thing that I find interesting, and I'm sure this is going to come out through multiple discussions, but the other thing that I find interesting is the sheer amount of propaganda that is usually present when we start talking about organized labor. And I do have that perspective in mind. I know what a collective bargaining agreement is. I know what a contract is. I know that the vast majority of Americans don't have a contract. And it's always amazed me the number of people in this country that, just because they're not covered under a collective bargaining agreement, just because they don't have a contract to safeguard certain things, that instead of wishing that they had one, and they probably do, let me say it a different way, instead of wishing that they had one and work towards that, they look at other people that do and they go, well, how dare you have that? You should be down here where I'm at. I'm going, no, how about let's reverse this role here. and it's amazing to me the like I said, I've been studying propaganda for quite some time, and it's when it comes to contracts and at will employment and all this other stuff, I know what happens, and it blows my mind that somebody could put a post up saying, "Oh well, in this case UPS," they say, "Oh well, UPS is struggling." It's like, yeah, how much money do they make? How much money do they make in actual profit? And then they got $1 billion to then go and do stock buybacks, which should be illegal. What are you talking about? They're struggling. No, they're not. They're manufacturing it from a propaganda perspective. So, anyway, I could sit here and talk all day because there's so many
Yes,
people that
yes,
don't deep dive into it. But
yes,
I'm glad that there is somebody that is willing to have a long form conversation to inform anybody that is willing to actually listen. I know, quite
yeah.
frankly, that there's a whole host of people that you're not going to get, and you're not going to get
Mhm.
those people because their mind is already made up. Um, Mark Twain said that it's easier to fool a person than it is to convince them they've been fooled. Once you've been fooled, you bit down that narrative, you don't want to let it go. And so you'll ride that thing off into the sunset. But for the people who are open minded, this podcast is going to be, I hope anyway, very illustrative in some of the conversational tones and everything that we plan on discussing in it. So
Mhm.
this will be normally the time that I would say, hey, we can do introductions, but because this is going to be an audio only podcast, as at least for the time being, how about you just kind of give me a little bit of an overview, or the audience a little bit of an overview of, let's say, just a little bit of the background, so we can kind of lay a little bit of the foundation as to why they should listen and take what we're going to be talking about seriously.
So, I am I've been with the company for 10 years now. Started in the warehouse, worked up pretty fast. I was actually in a warehouse that was growing super fast, and I was able to make full time driver in about 14 months, which is unheard of. You can ask anybody that's been there 30, 40 years. They were in the warehouse 5 to 7 years easy. I was just, I guess, the luck of the draw. I didn't expect that to happen. It happened. And, once I got in, I was very happy. You know, you always hear things, yeah, UPS is a great company. They do this and, they pay good and you got benefits and all this stuff and take care of your family. My parents were ecstatic. My dad was a railroad worker during the late
Hmm.
60s all the way to the 80s. He did 20 years with the railroad. Took a buyout, back in '86. But my dad was happy. I was happy too. And this is not knowing about what union work is all about and all that because I came from a non-union job. I used to work for a linen company, a national company called Airmark, and
Hmm.
they were not a union. So coming into this union deal was, well, hey, what do we need the union for? Shouldn't everybody just follow the rules? Like you go into this, if you're not a union worker and you go into this and you don't have anybody that basically to guide you in there, you're just getting thrown to the wolves. Luckily, at the time when I got hired, I had a cousin that worked there, uh, and he was on year 19. So he's about, close to 30 years in at this time now, but he's the one that guided me and told me, hey, this is, watch out for this. This is how you got to do this. And I'm just mind boggled, like, well, why? Coming from a non union job.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was all great. My first 4 years was amazing. And then it started going downhill when we had the new CEO take over. Uh, just open season on us. It was just insane. Nothing but harassment, setting up for failure, doing things on purpose, lying to you, having you do things on purpose. And the union just stood and watched it. And all you can do is report it to your steward. The stewards just say, hey, well, file. Okay, yeah, we file grievances left to right, harassment here and there, violation of 9.5, supervisor working grievances, all this stuff that, you can get paid on. But Nobody ever gives you any updates. Nobody ever tells you, hey, we're going to have a hearing. Hey, we're going to do this. Or, hey, it didn't go through. Or, and it's like already you're against a huge giant. UPS is a huge giant. They're like I always tell my friends, I tell people like UPS is like the government, dude. They can do whatever they want. Contract doesn't mean anything. You talked about contracts earlier. I know what a contract is. You know what a contract is.
Yeah.
But guess who are the people? Guess who the people are that only have to follow the contract? Are the little people, not the people that the contract helps. The language and Sean O'Brien says, "Oh, we got the strongest contract." No, you didn't, and it was all a big diversion with the money. And at the last minute, the air conditioning thing was what kind of quieted everybody, and we're like, "Oh, we're getting AC." That threw everybody for a loop because nobody knew. I mean, at least in my building, nobody knew that that was even on the table to talk about. So when that item came out of discussion when we were discussing this last contract, everybody was so surprised. Like, what are you talking about? Because the number one issue was supposed to be getting the warehouse, the indoor part-time workers, the loaders and the unloaders in the building. We were supposed to, we were fighting to get them their money. They were still making I think it was $12 an hour at the time,
Mm.
and this was 3 years ago. So our main goal was to get more paid time off, get the warehouse workers that bust their butts, to do what we do. I mean,
Hmm.
to help us do our job, because it's like a assembly line. If they don't do their job correctly, that can add 3 or 4 hours to our day, easy, because nothing's in order. Well, they're all upset because nobody wants to work for those wages, and
Yeah.
they got to do all this work and put it in order. No, screw that. We'll just leave it to the driver. So that's why one of the reasons why we, other than being overloaded, that we're out so late is because they don't treat the guys inside right. So
Hmm.
it's all a big, 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 big conveyor belt, assembly line type of thing. So that was the main focus of the contract. And of course to stop harassment and these other little things. But when the AC of the trucks came out, that was like a big shocker. That kind of threw everybody for the loop. And yeah, we're gonna get air conditioned trucks, and they were gonna go by regions, and my region was the first region because I live in the hottest region. So yes, of course we're gonna get them. You all in Boston and all those upstate people that get all that cold weather. They don't need them yet. So they were trying to take care of us because we're getting people that are getting killed down here with heat exhaustion and heat, and nobody cares. But yes,
Mm.
the union wasn't doing anything, and I've been saying this for years. I've been telling my stewards, hey, what's the deal? Well, just keep filing, just keep. Well, it doesn't do anything. But when we break the contract, when we do something wrong, we're
Yeah.
immediately like walking in the next morning not knowing what you did wrong, or if you did anything wrong, you don't know if you're going to be fired. You're going to walk in with a letter, intent to suspend, or you're going to be fired immediately for something that you don't even know you did, and they won't even tell you. They don't want to make you a better driver. Hey, we're going to give you a warning letter for this. You violated one of our methods. Well, which one was it? If you saw me, if you observed me out there, which one was it? What house? What address? What time? That way, us as drivers, since safety is their biggest concern, especially on the road, that's UPS's number one thing, driving that truck safely, period.
Hmm.
So you're not going to tell me what I did wrong. You're just going to discipline me and not tell me what I did wrong and let me keep doing it. Their goal is not to make us a better driver. Their goal is to attack us. And it got worse and worse and worse. And that's going to keep going on. And that's the deal with these buyouts. It's a big plan. And everybody's thinking, well, it's a big slap in the face. Yeah, it's a big slap in the face. But if you took that first buyout, great. Yeah, you're kicking yourself in the butt because this other one came out. But yeah, and it's funny, I got a buddy of mine that took it, and I know it's real. And he's like, man, it didn't matter, because you don't know. They didn't say, hey, we're going to have 3 buyouts.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what UPS is going to do. Nobody.
Yeah.
So it's like, just take it, do what you got to do. And of course, there's a lot of people that are wrong and a lot of people are right. But I'm on the side of like, It depends on the person's situation. Where are you at in life? Are you ready to retire already? Where are you going to do this? Because you were going to retire and get your 401k, your pension, but you weren't going to get 150k on top of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these people that take this buyout, or that the people that take the buyout, free and clear. You still get your benefits, you still get your pension, you get your health care, but you have to pay for it. And you only get it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's for anywhere. I think it's 3 or 4 years, and then you're on your own after that, which I'm okay with. You know what I mean? So then after that, it's open season again, and I'm talking about nonstop harassment, which they get away with all the time. The union has never stepped in. I've had incidents happen to me. I'm a perfect example of all this stuff, uh, harassment and all that. And you know why UPS keeps harassing? Because like all these other grievances, that we get a check for penalty pay if they violate the contract on certain ones, and we get a certain amount of hours, multiplied by time and a half, and you get, reimbursed for them breaking the contract. With harassment, they don't do nothing. There's no payments.
Right.
You can file 100 harassments in 30 days, and nothing's gonna happen because I've done it, and it's sad because they're breaking the law as well. But like I said, UPS supersedes the law. They always have and they always will. And it's sad because these are hardworking people, just like you talk about, that we make America run. During
Hmm.
COVID, they ran us to the ground with no hazmat pay, with no front lines, no extra nothing. But the supervisors got these fat bonus checks, 30, $40,000 checks, and we're on the front lines with no PPE. We didn't get PPE till after 6 months after the shutdown. We were handling packages, and the trucks were not getting cleaned. You know how many boxes? You can't wipe down every box. You know how many hands
Right.
touched those boxes before I grab them? And we were still delivering packages from China.
Right.
Which I'm not
Right.
saying that's where I came from, but that's where people were saying.
Right.
And it's not like we have the time to wash our hands after every package.
Your point well taken, actually. I didn't even think about
And
that.
yeah, and I'm not taking away from healthcare workers, all these frontline, ambulance, fire department, all that good stuff. They did an amazing job. You know, hey, we want to thank our first responders and all that. But you know what? And I don't mean this in a bad way. That's what they went to school for. They trained to be part of that. They trained to work with biohazard stuff. They trained to work with medical stuff.
Mm.
What about the people that made the country? What about the people that took them the vaccines and the equipment they used to to handle their job? We did that, but did they ever give any props to us or USPS or FedEx or Amazon? No, it's all first responders. Yeah, like I said, I don't take anything away from them. We didn't go to school for that.
Right.
They did. They were doing their job. They do that every
Yeah.
day. So that was my point. Like I said, I don't mean to put anybody down, but without us, y'all wouldn't have had a job. Y'all wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's just we do a lot, and there's never any recognition, not just because of that, but at work too. There's no, hey, y'all did a good job. Uh, there's never any pep talks. It's just always bang, bang, bang. It's just a bad environment. It's not like it used to be anymore. And yeah, whoever says that they're excited and hey, I've just got a new position at UPS, good luck with that. So
So
yeah,
you you
there's a lot to talk about. Yeah.
yeah. So there yeah. There's so much. I'm sitting here writing down notes. One of the first things that you said earlier that I'm interested because I'm not in that culture
Mhm.
is you said when the new CEO had taken over, things
Mhm.
were starting to go downhill. And I see a little bit of this on the UPSers Reddit, the
Mhm.
subreddit. But I'm genuinely curious if you have off the top of your head some examples of, let's say, how it began to go downhill. For me, I think that what happens is because of the way our And this is a black mark against the way it's set up. Shareholder value is a stupid, stupid, stupid idea. This
Yeah.
idea that I'm going to squeeze every the only thing that matters is every quarter. That's the only thing that ever matters. It, I, and they have the least amount of it. They might say, well, I got money invested into the company, but longevity wise, they have the least amount invested into it. The rest of the stockholders, the employees, the customers, the country itself has way more invested in the company. So this idea of the primacy of stockholder value or shareholder value is a bit ridiculous. So because that's set up that way, uh, companies come in and when whether they purchase UPS or whatever when it goes public, they go, well, how can I squeeze as much out of this? And then they look at the employees almost all the time and they go, I can squeeze more out of these employees. I can take this away and this away and this away and this away. And then what happens over time, and the history is replete with this, there's a whole host of companies that people used to rave about working for. And then new management comes in that had this perspective, they just whittled away everything that made that company great to work for. And people are like, this is, I remember what it was like back in not the golden days, but you get the point. And so I'm genuinely curious about some of the things that intentionally saw or noticed or had conversations internally that would equate to, let's say, going downhill like you mentioned earlier in your monologue.
Okay, so all this talk about people saying that UPS bit off more than they could chew, and that's why they're getting rid of drivers. They're in debt. They're in trouble. They're not in trouble.
No.
This has been planned, and Miss new CEO over here. If you looked her up, I'm not going to say her name, but
Yeah.
I think everybody knows her name. She came from another company. We'll call it DH. I was doing some research, and she did the opposite over there, which is very shocking to me. She was all about the employee, customer
Mm.
service. It was and seeing her business model over here is a whole different ballgame, and that tells me she also comes from a huge, huge financial background, huge uh, banks, and all that numbers stuff. Well, I really don't think it's her that's pulling the strings. I think she's got some input in it, but I think it's all the board members, and she's one of the board members, by the way.
Right.
So this is all a design plan, and the bottom line is they're trying to go back to the basis model of where they were before COVID, which I understand that. That's fine, but for you to be going after people intentionally, setting them up for failure, turning your backs on them. Yeah, I understand it's a union and UPS, but you ain't got to be treated that way. But yes, I have experienced all of that. I've seen it. You're talking about uh, people getting set up and walking into no job the next day because they made them do something that they weren't supposed to, and the supervisor said, I didn't tell you to do that.
Hmm.
And you're talking about new guys. A perfect example of what I said earlier of if you don't know anybody in UPS that's been there for years and that's going to help train you on the side other than what UPS does, because all UPS does is show you how to work the computer, show you how to drive correctly, and how to deliver packages. That's it. They don't tell you anything else. Throw you out there and they expect you to know everything, and it's not like that. It takes probably a good month of training to
Mm.
do this. And you had mentioned that in your podcast earlier. I had just seen it about taking the time to train people with the longevity because, hey, well, I don't have time. I got all this work. Okay, but you're willing to put the safety of workers and them getting hurt, you losing them, and you're going to lose more work in the long run because you didn't train these correctly. Can you imagine if you throw 10 people in there, train them, and throw another 10 and put them on separate projects and see who does better?
Right.
How about that? So, um, all these rules and all these things that are happening always come from the top. Every morning there's a phone call with corporate to all the buildings, and they tell you, and this is a daily thing. This is how many packages we're injecting into the system, and this is how many trucks we're running. Deal with it. We usually have on my side about 122 trucks that we have available on my side. There's two centers in my building, and they have the workforce to do it, but they choose not to use it. So they will say, okay, we're going to inject this much out of the 122 or whatever trucks I said. We're only going to use 70. But in reality, it's about 100 trucks worth of work. But you're sending drivers home, and you're making everybody else stay out till 11 o'clock at night, paying them all this extra overtime, and then filing grievances, the grievance payments on top of that, instead of putting all the trucks out there and getting everybody home safely to their family at a decent time with everybody not having any overtime. You tell me how that works. They can probably try
Right.
that to shave money instead
Right.
of, it doesn't make any sense to me. Uh, but just like I tell all my other friends and buddies, like, UPS been in business 120 years. They know what they're doing. So okay, but yeah, all these plans and direction come from up above every morning, and they got to do what they say. If you're gonna be a management in UPS, you better be you better have no soul. You ruin pe- you ruin people's lives daily, and it's the truth, and it's very funny. I love it because it's the truth, and everybody laughs at that. Like, you gotta be the devil himself to be able to have that type of skin to ruin somebody's lives daily.
Yeah. You mentioned 11 o'clock at night. So,
Yes.
this podcast, and I'll give it a little perspective. Not you, but the people who are listening. This podcast is This is the only day I've got off in an entire month. So I did 14 days of 12 hours for a shutdown. Starting tomorrow morning, I will go back on 12s for, I don't know, probably what is scheduled to be 2 weeks, provided it ends good. And then I'll have maybe a week's worth of time in between before I start another job, and it's 12s. But it's bananas to me when I think about I've got 70, 80 trucks. Let's go with that. 70, 80 trucks. And, we have in the construction industry, sometimes there are jobs that pop up and it's like, okay, well, today we're working 12. Today we have a breakdown. Today we gotta do this, we gotta do that, whatever. We got this emergency, whatever. But to say it doesn't make any sense to me to go, okay, well, we got 120 some trucks. And the guys that's the concern with the buyout too, is that the ones who are working even now and will continue to work, that the thought process seems to be you're going to work the dog crap out of everybody else when you could have and disperse it amongst people. Because who the hell wants to go home at 11 o'clock at night every night? I want to go home at a decent time to spend time with my family. And to me, it just when I hear you say that, I think to myself, is this ignorance or is this something nefarious? Is there something else behind this? Is there some master plan? Uh, this whatever it happens to be, and I kind of alluded to some of my own personal thoughts in I think the second video where I was like, look, it feels like what they're ultimately trying to do, especially with the buyout and the lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, is I think what they want to do is go, well, look, I think they're just trying to make the union look bad, is what I really, personally believe. I think they're trying to make it look bad. They're trying to make, and because they just don't, I've never met a company that really, really was like, yeah, let me deal with the collective group of people standing up. They want the power to exert everything over you. You don't want to go out and work till 11 o'clock at night. You're gone. Get out of here.
Exactly.
That's it.
Hmm.
I don't care if you don't get time with your family. And then it's like, but then the same people, and this is what gets me too. Oftentimes, you lament. There are people who will lament uh, families and like the way culture is going and the problems and different things. And I'm going, okay, but you're doing this from a perch, and on the same token, you're also contributing to it because you're not managing things properly to allow me to get home at a decent time to then turn around and invest into my own family, my own children, raising them up. And so you can't sit here on one side and lament and judge and go, well, you're not taking time to spend with your family, whatever. But whose fault is that? That's your fault because because you're working people to death, and you can't sit here and go, well, it's not even that they don't even have an option. Because listen, they do. You could have additional drivers out there that would lighten the load for everybody else, but it's like, nah, we're just. Is it incompetence or is it like it just
They
blows my
they
mind, man.
let me just tell you, they don't care.
Yeah, I think you're probably right
They
about that.
it is really sad, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. They do it on purpose. They have so many outs. They have so many options. Just like you said, they don't take them. Why? I don't know. I've ran the numbers, like, you know, the numbers I can get as close to what I think is really going on, and they don't make any sense. UPS is already throwing a lot of money away on purpose. Uh, why not shave that off instead of ruining people's lives and laying everybody off? You ain't got to do that. Let's go ahead and cut these other things out.
Right.
And, you know, the ruining the families and stuff like that, UPS does not care who you are. If your wife is sick or somebody's sick or your daughter's got leukemia, they do not care about your family. They don't care about your individual, what's going on with you. They don't care. And
Mm.
what's messed up about it too is every day you can't go home until that truck is empty. Wrong. You can't go home until you actually walk out of that building. Because it happens every day, and it's happened to me, and that's because I'm a veteran driver. Uh, and that's why my wife and I, we never made plans on Friday. Plus, it helped out that her job kind of ran over on Fridays as well. Um, let's just say, let's go ahead and use Friday. I mean, it happens every day during the week, but let's go ahead and use Friday for this. Let's just say I get to work and I say, hey, you know, we're gonna do. By the time I get done, this looks great. Everything looks good. My truck looks good. I should be clocking out, walking out of here 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is early for us. That's an amazing time to get out.
Right.
For normal people from 9 to 5, that's crazy. No, that is like jumping up for joy. Woohoo! I'm gonna start my, I'm actually gonna get to go home and enjoy my Friday instead of getting home at 11:30 and only
Right.
having 30 minutes left of my Friday. So we're not really getting a full weekend. Um, but you're driving home and you're fired up. 10 minutes out from the building, you get that call. You got to pull over. Hey, we're gonna have to turn around. You got to go help so and so. He's not doing so well. He's behind. You got to go back and go take 40 stops off him. Another 2 hours. So you're always going to expect a phone call. Can you imagine all the people that call in and tell their wife, hey, I'm done, I'm on my way, we can actually go to dinner tonight. And then boom, you're on your way. That happens thousands of times to thousands of drivers every day. And wives get tired of that. So what I did, I mean, thank God I had, the wife that her job ran over. But when we first started dating, we made a pact. We will never make plans on a Friday night because of that. And that alleviated a lot of stuff because, especially if you're a new guy, they're going to manhandle you. They're going to send you wherever. They're not going to, UPS does not like you to go home at 5 o'clock. They will find work for you, no matter if anybody's in trouble or not. You don't see drivers clocking out at 5.
Hmm.
And it's sad. And there's also a deal called an 8 hour request. You can fill out a form and say, hey, I need this day off. My son's got a championship soccer game. I got to be there. You turn it in. Takes about 24 hours to get approved or whatever. They'll give it back to you. Approve. Okay, your 8 hour request is approved. Okay, awesome. Okay, comes that day, comes that Friday. You go, you get to the computer, you see your route, and it's a 12-hour day. They do it on purpose. You can't say no, I don't want this, or you can't do that, or take that work off the truck. If that work's loaded on the truck, it's got to be done.
This is even
So,
after you requested for an 8 hour.
yes, this happens all the time. And then after that happens, of course, all they do is file agreements, and UPS has to pay a penalty. So here you go. That's it. Problem solved. But your family, they don't care that you have a game. Hey, we got packages delivered. Yeah, he has an 8 hour request. So what?
Wow.
Load him. It's purpose and intentional, and it's sad. And you know what kind of mental screw that is? To not know when you're going to go home, if you're going to go home. It happens every day, thousands and thousands. And I hope some of these guys that are listening out there, and hopefully we can reach some drivers so we can, have them call in and tell their quick little story and get everybody on board. And guess what? Like I said, the union, we don't have any help. The union is supposed to help us. But we are alone in this, and the union is taking our money. And nobody has said a damn thing, just like right now with the buyouts. Sean O'Brien hasn't said anything. Nobody's come forward. There's not been no rallies, no meetings, nothing. Because guess what? The union is bought by UPS too. And I've been saying this for years.
It feels to me, it feels to me like if I'm playing, if I'm looking at this and I'm playing chess, um, if I come out against the buyouts, and this is why I think I said I don't remember which one it was, but I said something to the effect: if I come out against the buyouts, not because I oppose them or whatever, not because of that, just because it technically it breaks the contract, right? So if it breaks the contract, then it's illegal. I mean, that's just and again, there's a lot of people who are who've taken umbrage with it, but it's like, listen, at the core of it all, you have some serious issues coming up. Number one, if they are allowed to break the contract by offering this, well, then that calls into question the point of contracts in general. Can we just water them down and make them even more ineffective? And what kind of ramifications does that have for collective bargaining agreements in the future? But number two, and to roll it back even further, if I come out and I oppose them, and then the company can go, well, look, we're trying to offer you this to you, but look at what they want. They want to keep you. They don't want you to have this buyout, and that's in my mind. I'm not saying that's what's taking place. It just happens to be one of the things that, let's say, I think about when I'm doing this because I'm going. There's a level of incompetence. So I'm willing to go along with you from like when you were talking about they just don't care, right? That
Mm-hmm.
probably is the case when it comes to, hey man, I said 8 hours. Like I got things to do, bro. I actually have a life outside of this place,
Mm-hmm.
and in some ways, there's a case to be made for incompetence or but in some other ways it's very intentional and seditious and
Deceiving. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
deceiving. And one of the things that I have found, and I don't know this if this is the case or not, but one of the things that I have found is that people like management, I've seen it numerous times as a matter of fact, where management is, they'll never tell you this, but they're jealous of the benefits that you get because you're under a collective bargaining agreement. And so they do all that they can to screw with you because they don't think that you should be making what you're making. They don't think that you should have the benefits that you've got. They don't, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's part of like this overarching thing or not. I don't know. But I have seen that play out numerous times as well.
So management, they used to be drivers.
Oh,
At least 80% of them used to be drivers. So management doesn't do anything unless they are told to. So every time somebody has to get sent back out, it comes from a phone call. They're puppets. They don't make their own calls.
huh.
So if they're seeing the computers all day and they're seeing, okay, well, this guy's in trouble, this guy's in trouble, they got to make a call somewhere and say, hey, regional manager, this is what's going on. What do you want us to do? We have so and so. We have A, B, and C routes around this guy. Which one do you want us to send? A is almost done. B has, 2 hours to go, and C is like 15 minutes from being done. Which one do you want us to send? That's how it works. They don't just do it on their own.
Hmm.
It's like, and you know what? And it seems like it's intentional, but you know what? It's one of the main rules over there is you never bring back packages. So it doesn't matter whose lives you're going to screw over. If you're going to send out overloaded trucks, again, that don't have to be sent out because we have drivers you're sending home and empty trucks sitting at the building, but you choose to lower the people outside, lower the workforce, and send out 70 trucks with 100 trucks worth of work. Dude, that is not okay.
Right.
And making people be out there and run them to the ground. That's why people are dying because you're doing it over, especially in the summer, over and over and
Right.
over and over again. And they just don't care because guess what? There's 80,000 guys that work in the warehouse nationwide that are in line and hungry to get that driver job. So you think they care about getting rid of these guys?
No.
No, because they are dispensable, and they want new drivers. They want experienced drivers that the customers love. That they've been on their routes. We got guys that have been on the routes for 10, 20, 30 years. They're same customers. They want to get rid of everybody and get the cheaper labor, but not the experienced labor. And let's go ahead and see what happens later on when they go unionless, which I predict is going to be unionless by the end of the first year of the next contract. There's probably going to be a strike, but the strike's not going to affect them because they're going to be ready with labor on the side already. Cheap labor, and guess what? Watch the accident number go up after that. And everything is always swept under the rug, which is sad. You don't ever see UPS on the news unless there was a patron that filmed a video. You seen that video that came out last year of that guy that fell asleep at the wheel and drove into a tree? There was a guy on the road that filmed that and put it out there to the news, and they immediately jumped on it. That's when the union came in and said, "Oh, hey, oh, this is wrong, guys." And the union wanted to step in just because of that. If there was no video of that accident, nobody would have ever heard about that accident.
Right.
It's
So it probably blew up. Right.
Yes, it blew up so fast.
That's the thing
And
that.
I
Mhm.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
and it's like UPS controls everything. Why do you think you don't see anything on the news? You never see anything on the news about UPS accidents, and if it does, it's because a video got. But nowadays, everybody's got a camera in their hand,
Yeah.
and you send that video to medias and all that. UPS is going to do everything in their power to call these medias and tell them to take it down, unless like this guy was smart and he did an amazing job. I thank him for doing that, but it still didn't get us anywhere. After that, they didn't treat it like that. It was about a little fiasco for about a week. The president came down here and he did all this and that, and we had rallies and interviews and everything, and nothing came out of it. The union doesn't do anything, and it's sad,
So
very sad.
earlier you made a comment about. So I don't know all the details about the buyout per se, but
Hmm.
you made a comment that if you took the buyout, which I mean, I get when you get in towards retirement to some degree, but if you're going to go retire, you took the buyout. Excuse me. You said something about having healthcare insurance for like 3 to 4 years
That's
afterwards.
what I Yes, that's what I heard. if you're gonna have to pay for it, but I think you get to keep it for like I think it's 3 to 4 years, and this is coming from a superior. Uh, that's what I heard. Don't quote me on that. Anybody knows the truth about it, and it might be different in different areas, but that's what I heard. Uh, that's with along with your pension and your 401k, whatever you've attributed to the company, that's still yours. They're not going to cancel anything out. Uh, but yes, you get to keep it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think that's what I heard. But you got to pay for it, and it's at a discounted price. But either way, right now at this point, we don't pay for our insurance. Our insurance is free.
Right.
We
That's
don't
part
get.
of the Cadillac insurance. That
Yes.
people call it Cadillac. But so,
Yes.
but point of clarification: if you go to retire, just retire, and you don't take the buyout,
hmm
are you covered longer than
Yes.
3 to 4 years?
Yes. You're covered forever as long as you pay for it. But that's at a even more discounted price. So you can keep it for the rest of your life. I think with the buyout, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you maybe give you a head start because you're gonna cut ties with the company. Period. So I think they're only giving it's anywhere from 2 to 4. It's no more than 4. That's what I know. If it's true. Uh, but that you can pay for it. But when you retire, no buyout. You keep your insurance forever as long as you pay.
So, all right, now we're getting into territory that actually, for like this actually, um, this is a money play at this point, from what I can
Yes.
tell. You can bet your bottom dollar that UPS is saving money by doing that right there. And I was thinking, well, maybe they're just long term looking to cut the number of drivers they've got because they want to increase their tax not tax revenue, excuse me, they want to increase their profit. However, I don't know that necessarily they want to decrease their drivers to a significant degree, because what you're talking about is they've got them, they just send them on home. They're like, look, we're going to pack these guys up. But longevity, they're going, you take this buyout, you're close to retirement, whatever. Um, you're you're then I'm sure they run the numbers, but they go, you're probably not going to keep our insurance, which means I don't have to pay for you. And so they go, what's $150,000 in comparison to however much I would have to pay for insurance? And that's an interesting dynamic, because the number one reason for bankruptcy in this country is medical debt. The number one is medical debt. And here's the other thing: is that uh, 2/3 of all so 2/3 of all bankruptcies in this country are due to medical debt. 2/3 of all of those are due from people who actually have insurance. So they have insurance, but their insurance doesn't cover to the degree that they need it to, and so they end up claiming bankruptcy because of that, even with insurance. And then here comes UPS. And UPS, you guys have stellar insurance. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier in the beginning of the podcast episode, is that there is a thought process, there's a perspective where people are like, instead of going, well, maybe we should negotiate, maybe we should come together and negotiate for better healthcare, et cetera, we go, how dare you have good healthcare like that? Misery loves company. We want you to be down here where we're at, kind of thing. And that blows my mind, because instead of using that, going, well, maybe we could have better health insurance. You certainly could. I just got done doing a podcast episode with a lady from Solidaris Healthcare that
Yes.
is
Yes, I saw
run
it.
with union. It's a fantastic
Great.
model,
Great.
phenomenal.
I loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I wish the best for her, and I hope that helps because I feel it's a more secure and a more safe way to do it. And everybody that puts it, anybody that puts your body through what we put it through, like I'm sure you do it too. You're out there in the
Yeah,
elements, no matter what. There's a tornado. We cannot park that truck. We got to deliver in a tornado. We got to deliver in the storm. The only time UPS shuts down is when when the roads are iced. That's it. If there's a tornado, a hurricane, a whatever, you better have that truck out there.
Yeah. That's interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. But yes, going back to the healthcare,
Yeah.
I love her idea. I love the model. And that was a great podcast because hopefully we can reach a lot of people out there. And with my information, with her information, and maybe they can people that get take this buyout or have taken the first buyout, and their insurance runs out, they can jump on that one. If they're not working or something like that.
Yeah, they'll have to. So it is run. It is run by it's the building trades unions, right? So
mm,
the iron workers, the pipe fitters, the crane operators, the electricians, etc. And non-union contractors cannot become a part of that, and only union members get that. And she
mm,
made a comment in that podcast episode that I didn't even think about until she said it, and then I started ruminating on it, which was this: the the level of quality, the healthcare that is offered between whether it's you're in the building trades like myself or UPS. This is healthcare that used to only be available to the rich.
yeah.
This is healthcare that used to be only available to the wealthy. Um, and and I thought to myself, when she said that, I had to sit in for a second. I was like, she's probably right. Actually, I know she's right. When you start looking, back into history, and I thought to myself, then I went, that's very, very interesting. That, and that's, not only do I believe that she's telling the truth and that she's correct, but I also think that that perspective should continually be discussed, because a lot of people, they take it for granted, right? They take it for granted. I think that if you got somebody who is a newer employee, I'll say it that way because I see it in my own game. You got somebody who's newer and does not seriously give thought to all of the benefits that you get. Our benefits are on top of the check, meaning so you get paid what you get paid. And then you don't pay your pension doesn't come out of what you get paid in your pocket. Your annuity fund or 401k, it doesn't come out of what you get paid. It's on top of it. It's already structured elsewhere. Same thing with health insurance. So because they don't see those things, they are taken for granted, and they often, well, I only get paid this much. No, no, no. You get paid this much and all of these extra benefits. So I'm inclined to think that newer drivers, because they don't see the healthcare costs coming out of their paycheck, that they probably just think, well, I don't have all these benefits. Bull crap. You have Cadillac insurance. My
mm.
my brother's my brother's my sister-in-law works inside she works inside one of the buildings. I guess she would be called inside.
Yeah,
Um
depends on what time of day they call the morning shift. They call them preload, and the night shift they call them local sort.
I
Yeah.
forget when she works. The reason that that they've elected to kind of keep it going and blah blah blah, because he makes good money too. But the reason is because of the insurance.
Yes.
That's why. That's why he's
Yes.
like, yeah, she still goes in there and does it because why? Because of
Yes.
the
Yes.
insurance.
I have a cousin that does that. Yes. He goes in part time, and the part timers get the same insurance that we do.
Yeah, and he's like, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. I wish that more people were advocating for better health care coverage, for better insurance, for better et cetera, because and then it's just it was. I remember when the contract was coming up. I remember when the contract was being negotiated, because I believe it was UPS. I believe it was UPS who was like, "Oh, well, look at how much these guys make." And what they were doing is
Yes.
they're banking on everybody else going, how dare you make that much money? And they were banking on the ignorant public to tear them down. I'm going, but that's how divided you can make people by just spouting that kind of bull crap. And instead of inspiring someone else to maybe try to get their workplace better, I'll just try and tear you down over there at UPS. That's what they were
Yeah.
doing. You know what I mean?
They were adding a good chunk to the salary of how much our health insurance costs, which nobody ever knew how much it cost because they don't take it out of our check. Even like you said, some companies do it over there on the side. That doesn't happen because we know how much our hours are. We know how much we're supposed to get paid on that check, and all that comes out is our 401k does come out of our check. We see it on the check. Then our union dues, and
Yep.
then if you got child support or whatever, and then the taxes. That's all that comes out.
That's right.
So and the numbers add up. So it's not like we're making more and there's something done on the back end that there's $40 extra missing from the check. It doesn't work like that. Our insurance is 100% free.
Yeah.
The company pays 100% of it, and they should because they put us through hell.
Yeah. And you know what? Before we go any further into this, I said it at the beginning of the podcast, but I'll go ahead and say it again. UPS is not hurting financially.
Never has, never will.
They are not. There are people. I watched. Someone had it was a social media post, and the initial post was off of X, so it was off of Twitter, and someone was like, "Oh, the union's making UPS in trouble or whatever," and then someone commented was like, "Man, they made like I don't know $8 billion in one quarter. Like, get the hell out of here with that nonsense."
Yeah,
It's just rhetoric. It's just it.
yeah.
But if you don't do the legwork, if you don't do the time, it doesn't take long because it's a public company, so it's very easy to see. And because you don't do the time to look at it and go, look at what's going on here, you fall for the rhetoric a lot of times. UPS is not hurting for money
No.
at all.
And I
You
didn't have
know,
to do that because I know, but your podcast caught my eye because you broke it down with the numbers. I knew the numbers were amazing. I just didn't know about how much went back to the shareholders and how much the buybacks. I'm like, oh my God, this is the dude I need to talk to because with his legwork and my legwork and my experience and me being currently there, we can put this puzzle together. I mean, we might not be 100% right because UPS is secretive operative, but I have sources that are currently in there and they're in management and they feed me a lot of information like ASAP. So I can know what to look out for the next day or what's coming or whatever. So a lot of the things that I know is because I have somebody that's up in there that tells me what's going on that daily call.
yeah, $1 billion stock buybacks. I should do a podcast episode solely on stock buybacks. Stock buybacks used to be illegal, and the reason why is because it's market manipulation. It's exactly
Yes.
what it is, and they are participating in market manipulation. When you have $1 billion to buy back stocks, you're making your company seem more valuable. You're manipulating the stock market. That's all it really boils down to. They used to be illegal. It needs to go back to being that way. And quite frankly, the money that is siphoned off of the working people that go out and do everything, it's amazing to me that there are actual people who are defending stock buybacks to the degree that they are. It used to be illegal. It needs to go back to being illegal. 100%. It's market manipulation. It was that's the way it used to be seen. It was
Yeah.
market manipulation, and that's the way it
Like inside
needs to be.
inside trader type thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
because it is. That's
yeah,
exactly what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
100%. Yeah,
yeah. But guess who provides all that money for them?
that's right. The drivers, the preloaders, the people who bring the labor to it, right? And there's a narrative that kind of creeps up, but it's like you we're in this like symbiotic relationship. UPS needs people to do the work. I, you know, and we want, and I mean, I don't work for UPS, but the people that do work for UPS want to do the work because I want to go and do an honest day's work. But
Well, your industry as well. Like you can't have a robot go do construction.
that's right. Yeah,
It's not gonna happen.
no, the job that
I
I'm
mean,
on
yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
not in our time, maybe in 100 years, but not anytime soon.
Yeah, right. And so I want to go to work and do an honest day's work, and then come home and at a reasonable time to spend with my family. I know that right now my time is kind of constrained because of X, Y, and Z,
Yes.
scheduled. But I knew ahead of time that the next few months are going to be busy, and I'm okay with that. It is what it is. But the what I don't want, right, is and I've seen this over and over again, and because I can kind of compare. What I don't want is to be sitting here and to not have, let's say, to look at, wait, I'm getting paid pennies on the dollar for what's going on here. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And when you have enough money to participate in stock buybacks to the degree that they are, or and they have,
It's insane.
um, it's yeah. It
It's
oh
insane.
yeah. It's because what can you do with the $1 billion of investment into your company? And I'm not
Wha-
even
uh,
at this point in time. I'm not even just saying like I'm not even saying you could take $1 billion and give it to the employees. It's not even what I'm saying there.
no,
I'm
no,
saying what could you do if you had $1 billion that was actually invested into the infrastructure of the company,
yeah.
into the actual company that can provide value to the customer, kind of like investment, that kind of stuff. But we
And
don't.
in order for that to happen, they need to invest into the company to help us.
Yeah,
UPS will always put money, and this has been going on. And that's a great deal that you bring up. I was sorry if I cut you off, but UPS will always invest money in stuff that's going to hurt us, not help us. Cameras, what do you call it? What do they call that? A system. More of that system that tells you if we sneeze at the wrong time. It's like even before they put the cameras in there, they knew what we were doing, no matter what. They will do anything and everything in their power to buy things to hurt us, not to help us. They go crazy when they got to buy us extra Gatorade or extra stuff in the 100-degree weather, and uh, they damn sure will never do anything to help us. They'll go out there and spy on us in the 100-degree weather and go write us up. But while they're spying on us, will they stop and say, "Hey, here's a Gatorade, or here's a pickle, or here's some bananas"? No, they do not care, and it's sad, dude. It's sad because people are dying, and nobody's doing anything about it. You know how much money? And this is, I don't know if the figure's still the same, but do you know how much money UPS pays because somebody died on the job? You know how much the families get paid?
I'm curious to know.
UPS probably, and they probably get them to sign an NDA and all this. I believe it's about $80,000 when
Because
somebody
somebody
dies.
dies.
When somebody dies on the job, but they make it seem like it was their fault. They didn't hydrate enough, not because we were in a heat zone and human beings are not supposed to be out there more than 3 hours at a time, but we're there for 14 hours a day, week after week, May, June, July, August, sometimes September in some areas. But it's our fault because we didn't hydrate enough. The company is never at fault. Oh, there's so many stories and so many things, and they're true because I've seen it. And one of the guys that died was in my building, and he was 2 trucks down. I had just seen him that morning.
And it was from heat exhaustion or heat stroke.
Yes, yes. He died at a
Wow.
customer location.
Just fell out basically.
Yes, yeah. Good human being, and they don't do anything to stop it. Union came in and oh yeah, we put another ice machine. We provided more water. That's not what we need. Water and ice and proper rest and all that is not going to help us when you start the summer at, let's say, May 1st. My body is 100% on May 1st. Now you go Monday through Friday, May, June, July. In August 1st, on that Monday, is your body going to be 100%? We're about 60 at that point, maybe now. We're not fully rested. Just because you rest a Saturday and a Sunday doesn't mean you're fully rested.
Right.
Now, I've experienced it. I've had heat exhaustion a couple times. I went to the ER. Well, what did you eat? What did you eat this weekend? Did you drink alcohol? What did you eat? We have to like prepare for that on the weekends because they're going to ask those questions.
Yeah, it's no
So,
joke.
yes, just like you said earlier, we have to devote our lives to it because they will get down to the bottom of it and they will find out. So you can't lie. So guess what? I'm forced to be as safe as I can on the weekend, drink plenty of water, try and hydrate as much as I can to get us back up to whatever percentage I'm at that time of year because they're going to blame it on me. You didn't hydrate enough. What did you eat for breakfast today? What did you eat for lunch? And they will document that and they will drill, 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 baby. That's how they do it.
Yeah,
It's
this is a
bad.
this is a I'm gonna make a I'm gonna write down something
Go for it.
because I want to circle back to this, not in this
Yes.
conversation because I want
Yes,
to
yes, yes,
explore it.
absolutely. Yeah, it's just
Um,
like we're just kind of touching base, you know, back and forth. It's like I said, there's so much the public doesn't understand, and that's why I tell the public, I say, hey, you know what? When you see a UPS driver, you happen to be outside, tell him thank you and you appreciate him because nobody tells us that.
yeah,
Not at work, not the supervisor. It's not their job to tell us that, but don't treat
it
us
it
like,
it goes a
yeah,
long way, right?
yeah, it does. Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah, it doesn't cost me anything to be kind.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I want to the heat exhaustion thing. I'll just touch on it because I definitely want to talk about this in a later podcast episode if you're
Yes,
willing to come back on and have a conversation. But
absolutely.
heat exhaustion. So I'm out in the elements too, right? Um, there is a certain point, just because I want to, make sure that anybody listening to this podcast episode understands it. There is a certain point that it does not matter how much fluid I put in my body, I cannot overcome the heat and the sweating or the loss of fluids. There is a time period where I don't care how much water I'm drinking, it doesn't replenish what I'm losing. I need salt, which is where the original Gatorade kind of come in, right? Um, but I need some of that, and I need fluids. But sometimes, and we see this in the construction industry for sure, sometimes it doesn't matter how much water I've had. Now I need to just I need to take a break. I need to cool off. I need to take a break. And I'm intrigued by, listening to you because I think that you're touching on something that, I mean, look, there's a lot of people who probably don't know exactly what's going on. And
No,
you got 14, if you got 14-hour days and this in the summertime heat, my goodness,
nonstop,
bro.
nonstop.
My goodness. And just
The stop count. That when the temperature goes up, the stop count goes up. If we're running, up to Mayish, let's just go ahead and say we're starting the summer at May. If everybody's running an average stop count of about 180, that stop count starts going up to 220, 240 in the summer when the heat goes up. And then it comes down a little bit, and then during October, and then Christmas, it goes back up. But
go jump back up for Christmas. Yeah.
for sure, every summer, when that temperature goes up, that stop count goes up, baby. It's like we are doomed.
Yeah.
I've
Then
seen
you're,
it no matter
wow.
what. Instead of bringing in more drivers, yes. What about bringing in more helpers or like seasonal workers so we can get those packages off and get home and get out of the heat?
Yeah.
No, no, we're not going to do that. Mm-mm. No, we're going to go ahead and overload you and keep you out there on purpose.
Yeah, well, to be, listening to you talk about it, like no wonder there are people who are like, I got to get out of here, man. I'm taking that buyout. I'm not offering an opinion one way or the other. I can just see how individuals they get degraded morale, from a morale perspective, and they're like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I could pick another industry that isn't as ball busting. It isn't as overwhelming as this with 14-hour days and all that. That is crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
nonstop.
to watch me,
Yes.
you're gonna put a camera and to watch me Like that is
Oh, the
wow.
watching part is the watching part. That's gonna blow your mind, bro, when you hear what they're really doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna. I mean, if you're open to it, I mean, I'm willing to come back for another 15, 20 episodes because I feel like the public doesn't know like what we really go through, and it shows because you hear everybody out there when we're doing the contract and we're doing the buyouts and everybody, they make $50 an hour and they get paid too much. You want to hear the real story?
Yeah. Come get you some of this.
Yeah,
I
come get you some of this. Let me tell you what's really going on. Nobody wants to go work. If I had a choice, I only went to UPS because I had an in, and that was the opportunity that was placed to me. That wasn't my dream, or that wasn't where I wanted to work, and it just, it
yeah.
worked out. And then it
Yeah.
started getting bad. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a thing. Like I told you, there's something about human beings that don't like to see other people be successful. We'd rather tear you down than be inspired and try to get better for us. I've seen this all the time in the construction industry. They're like, um, "Oh, well, look at how much money they made this past week. Come get you some of this. Come on over here. Come get you some of what we're doing.
it's not
Come
worth
get
it.
you because you don't know what we're going through, right? Whether it's you're driving and it's in the heat and I'm gonna work till 11 o'clock at night, or you're gonna work in the heat or the heat or the hot or the cold heat or the coldness, and you're outside in the elements and you're sweating and you're walking like Yosemite Sam because you're trying to keep skin from touching yourself because you're chafing and it's just hot and you're dirty and people are like, yeah, come get you some of this. Come
And you're
get you
getting
some of
kept you're
this.
getting kept away from your family, from your
Yeah,
kids.
that's right.
Yeah, we make the money and we don't have time to spend it because guess what? We're laid up on the weekend. We don't want to do anything because we're so drained that we can't even enjoy the weekend. So
Yeah,
yes, 100%. Even when you're not working, you are dedicating your life to UPS.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna have a good series of discussions. So
Yes.
just so I'm gonna conclude this podcast episode
Okay.
here in a second. But one of the things that I want to tell you is that um uh my intention is to like start writing down a list of topics like one podcast episode might be run me through a particular day. Let's run through a particular day, right? One might be let's talk about what it looked like pre-COVID. It might go, how did it change after COVID, right? And if there are topics that you're interested in discussing, that maybe I don't even know the right questions to ask to get the information out, then I would say, hey, just shoot me an email saying, hey, look, here's discussions of things that seem, that we just don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what I don't know, right? So if I don't know what I don't know, if you're sitting here and you're going, hey, look, we're going to talk about this and this and this and this and this and this and this,
Yeah.
and kind of give me an outline. So if I'm going to come up with some things that I'm curious about, and then you can do the same. And you know what? What's likely to happen um, is there are other people who are probably going to be like, I'd like to talk about my, you know what I mean? I'd like to talk about my experience too, because everybody's experience, even though you have, very similar things because of your own, the nature of your job and the nature of another driver somewhere else in the country, they might have their own issues that, like you're in a very hot part of the country, right? Someone else might be like, yo, it snows like
Listen,
25 feet over here. Here's my issues, right?
yeah.
So, I'm hopeful, right?
Yeah.
In having those conversations with other people possibly going forward too. So, well, look, man, I really appreciate your time, especially your the ability to jump on a podcast real quick. Um, it'll be probably I don't know. I'd say at least 2 weeks before this podcast episode gets released because I've got a couple that are. I've got at least one more for sure that's going to go off next week that I had already pre-recorded in anticipation of the shutdown work and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I'll take this. And I've got some other ones that if I actually have time, that I'll get into the podcast studio and record. But so it's gonna be a couple of weeks, but I'll try and shoot you an email letting you know, hey, look, it's gonna go on. And as I said before, this will be audio only.
Cool.
For
Until further notice. Yeah.
That's right. Just
Yeah.
because of the nature of
Yes.
the conversation and whatever.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so so for those of you who have listened this long and you're on the YouTube channel, for example, and you're like, well, this has been an audio only thing. That's exactly right. It's been intentional. So it is what it is. And, to be honest with you, if you're looking to come on and have a discussion with me about anything, if you're going to tell me something that is going to reflect on anything, even if it's true, by the way, certainly if it's true, if you're looking to tell me or divulge to me and to anybody listening some important information that's going to make someone else look bad, I kind of highly recommend that that's the case, because you don't want retaliation. And I
Yes.
understand that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, so there it is, folks. Look, thanks, man, for your willingness to jump on here so fast, and I look forward to an engaging series of conversations with you.
Yes, appreciate your time and the opportunity, and keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing an amazing job, and thank you for all your hard work that you do at your job. The construction out there, the elements and all that. Much appreciated. I don't live in your area, but I'm sure you're making an impact out there. And to all the UPS drivers out there, if you're listening, guys, call in, or you want to express your story. But I'm going to give hats off to the UPS drivers that have kids that struggle, and they go home day after day, 14 hours, and still go and play with their kids. That takes a lot. Guys, thank you guys a lot so much, and appreciate being on the show, dude. I had an amazing time and look forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah. So thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.